Story 1. The way I've always done it has always gotten results, and people have always been grateful. I pull someone to the side and say, "Hey, I don't know how to say this, but if the shoe were on the other foot, I'd want someone to tell me, your deodorant might not be doing the job. It's no big deal. I've had it happen before. I just wish someone would have told me." Story 2. As someone who routinely smells bad due to random situations, just be straightforward. I'd rather be able to tell you why and have you judge me from there than have you come to your own conclusions. Story 3. Send them an anonymous letter in the mail with news clippings serial killer style. "You stinky bitch, take a shower. No, really, you still need a shower, bitch," etc. Repeat until the stench resolves itself. Story 4. My mother to this day will just announce, "You need to burn that shirt. I am well past 40. Lady, I have been working in a 110-degree Fahrenheit shop for the last 8 hours. Do you expect me to smell like a field full of lavender? I expect you to go take a shower." Story 5. Coming from personal experience in the past, there is honestly no polite way of going about it because obviously no one wants to hear that. I would just give it to the person straight that they are giving off a bad odor. Let them know you mean no harm and you are simply trying to help them out. I do not think you need to make them any more self-conscious by mentioning others or talking about it. Story 6. I have told one best buddy, I'm a guy, and one nephew. To my buddy, "Hey, you know I love you, right, Dave?" Him, "Okay." Me, "Well, I gotta tell you that either you and or your clothing stink. Like really bad." Him, "Really? Okay, I guess it's shower and laundry time." Same process with my nephew. He guaranteed that feelings weren't hurt. Story 7. As a teacher, I told my tutor group at the beginning of the year that I would tell them outright if they smell. Thankfully, I've not had to. But if I needed to, I would simply say to just them, with no one around to hear, "Hey Toby, you need to shower more often." Story 8. It depends. I work in a male-dominated field with hard labor. Sweat happens. Body odor happens. If it's the end of the day, I'm not going to say anything because I get it. I probably don't smell great either. If it's at the beginning of the day and we just got there, my foolproof method is to ask if I smell bad. They'll say no, and I'll then just look confused. Then the next day, voila, they showered and did laundry. Story 9. If it's breath-related, always offer them mints. If it's body odor and they are a teenager or preteen, take them aside and explain to them without using euphemisms that they have reached the age where they need to start using deodorant. If it's body odor on an adult you work with, have a diffuser with essential oils always going to mask the odor. Story 10. When you are breaking bad news to anyone, it helps if you set them up for the bad news. People are quite emotionally resilient when they have a moment to prepare. So start with, "Hey, I would like to talk with you about something. It is not an easy subject and you are not going to like what I have to say." Then say whatever you have to say. Story 11. Sometimes we don't have to be polite. That doesn't mean we're being disrespectful. I personally would be so grateful if I smelled bad and someone pulled me to the side to tell me. Other times, we just have to mind our business. Story 12. Hey, what's got 2 thumbs and smells like an open but? Then whisper. This is where you give 2 thumbs up. Or a simple friendly gift basket full of soap, deodorant, and a loofah next holiday. And possibly avoid a more passive-aggressive version of hygiene for dummies included. Story 13. If it is a coworker, you go via human resources. If they are a guest in your house, the polite way in my experience is to offer them the use of your shower or that you have a spare towel or toothbrush if they want to freshen up. Story 14. So I have some small travel deodorant sticks. I got a bunch at an event. I passed them over in secret like I am doing a drug deal, and then nod at them like, if you know. Story 15. I had a coworker that smelled like body odor. Some dude put deodorant in his work area, and he went straight to management and complained. The supervisor said he needed to step up his hygiene or else. Turns out the boss had no clue until that guy closed the door on his little office. Either way, it made work awkward. Story 16. One of my coworkers brings others into my office to smell me and make comments on my odor. He then presents a list of zoo animals which are available for comparison. I shower every day, but I do sweat a lot. This is a humorous but somewhat degrading way of going about it. Story 17. Tell them that you don't want others to gossip about them, so you are telling them. At least you come off as an ally. Will it work? Depends on the issue they have. Story 18. The way I've dealt with it in the past is along the lines of, hey, this is going to be uncomfortable to hear. And it's also uncomfortable for me to say because it is a sensitive and awkward topic, but I've noticed some body odor coming from you. Then ask whether they're okay regarding health, home, mental well-being, or finances. Sometimes there is a deeper issue, but other times they just don't realize they have an odor. Story 19. In reality, this is something I've struggled with in different situations with different stubborn people. But I bathe, is the common answer. I don't stink, was another. The best thing to do might be to say, that kind of deodorant doesn't work for everyone. Here, try this. Give them an antiperspirant rather than a deodorant. It's the only thing that takes strong body odor. Story 20. My ex-boyfriend's older brother smelled so bad I had to put my face in my sweater anytime I had to be in the car with him. His father stank too, but the brother was the worst. He was pretty smart, was a scientist at one point. I think he lived off welfare when I knew him, but for some unknown reason would not use soap, deodorant, or shampoo. His sisters tried so hard to get him to clean himself up, but he wouldn't do it. He never washed his clothes, and his teeth were a mess. He was completely indistinguishable from a homeless person. Normally, I'd say this was a sign of severe mental illness, but the guy was lucid, had friends, even had a girlfriend at one point, which blew me away. One time we were coming back on the train from a New Year's Eve bar crawl, and he started to cry because he couldn't find anyone nice to be in a relationship with. My boyfriend and I just looked at each other like, what? Story 21. You'd tell them if they had a booger hanging off the side of their nose, wouldn't you? Whatever embarrassment is initially felt, you're doing them a favor instead of letting them go on not knowing. That's the same logic I used to tell a guy that his hygiene routine wasn't effective. To help, I offered relatable clues like, I used to use deodorant and figured out the hard way that it wasn't working, so I switched to antiperspirant. Of course, I got the antiperspirant causes Alzheimer's blah 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 statement. I countered with, so, you really want to remember this conversation forever? He took the advice. Story 22. I worked with a guy from India who didn't bathe every day and reeked of garlic and body odor. He stunk so bad that one of our administrative staff, a sister who took no nonsense from anyone just to set the picture, went into the ladies' room and grabbed a can of air freshener and walked through our office area, making sure to stay a long time near the smelly guy's desk. She emptied an entire industrial-sized can of Lysol spray in an 800-square-foot room, and you could see the haze in the room, almost as bad as that one guy's girlfriend with the humidifier. The boss had a talk with him, explained American culture to him that we bathe daily, and the strong smell subsided. Story 23. I have two 14-year-old brothers. The best I've come up with is, you know how much I love you, don't you? I love you so much. You really smell bad. Go put on deodorant. Story 24. My wife has a story from a store she used to work at. There was a team who would unload the trucks, and one of the guys was particularly smelly to the point that nobody wanted that task anymore. The manager made little gift baskets for everyone with soaps, wipes, and deodorant. Thankfully, he used them and the issue was resolved. Story 25. In college, we tried telling one of our roommates that, and he just didn't care. So we dragged him, fully clothed, into the shower and squirted body wash all over him and told him we would unlock the door to the dorm room once we were satisfied. He started bathing once a week after that. Not ideal, but it was better than once a month, if that. Story 26. I would just put on deodorant in front of them while they're looking and say, this smells nice. Try it. Don't know if there's any way to actually tell someone they stink. Story 27. I have posed that same question elsewhere. I work with students who are adults and one student smells particularly stale. It's like a combination of sweat and moldy, wet clothes. We, the staff, have to work in close proximity. His aunt also works with us. Her hygiene is not particularly great, but better than her nephew's. If we tell him something, I'm 100% sure he'll tell his aunt, who will get very upset with us. we will definitely get in trouble. We are at a loss and looking for help here too. Story 28. In 8th grade, a girl I was friends with happened to have bad breath one day. Like really bad. Just one of those things that happens to us all. I took her aside and told her. She appreciated it. 20 years later, we got married. So, based on my experience, you're going to marry this person. Story 29. Privately is the key. Telling someone they smell bad can be awkward, but being tactful and kind is key. Here is a polite approach. 1. Speak privately. Ensure it is a one-on-one conversation to avoid embarrassing them in front of others. Be empathetic. Start with care and concern. For example, I hope you do not mind me saying this, but I wanted to let you know something privately because I care. Focus on the situation, not the person. I have noticed a bit of an odor, and I was not sure if you were aware. I thought I would mention it in case you want to check it out. Offer support or understanding. Sometimes this can happen with a new deodorant or laundry detergent. Let me know if there is anything I can do to help. Story 30. I don't mean to be rude, but you smell absolutely terrible. You smell worse than a pile of rotten corpses of people who died of bubonic plague, and almost as bad as your mother's cat. Story 31. Hey friend, I would like to talk to you about something personal. I care very much for you, including your overall well-being. I have noticed a difference in your hygiene practices recently, and I want to ask if everything is okay. I would like to gift you my favorite soap and body wash. This always made me feel and smell like $1,000,000, and I hope it does the same for you. Story 32. There is no polite way to tell someone they smell bad. Just get to the point and try not to sound judgmental about it. You could suggest buying a deodorant with them, haha. Story 33. I'm a manager at work, and I've had this conversation a couple of times. I've come up with this in conversation. Hey, what's new? You seem pretty stressed lately. Is there anything I can help with? Yeah, well, hey, just make sure you're taking care of yourself. Sometimes when we have a lot going on, we forget some of the small things. I've had times of forgetting to have good meals, brush my teeth, shower, or put deodorant on. So just make sure you're taking care of yourself. Life happens. If it's a friend or a family member, whoa, you forgot deodorant today. It's almost as bad as mine. Story 34. If it's a coworker, then you have human resources do it. If it's a friend, you talk about this coworker who smelled bad and how you had to go to human resources to have them tell the person they smelled bad. Their reaction will help you figure out how they'll react when you say, well, actually, if it's a family member, you just straight up tell them because you're family. Story 35. First, say their name gently. Then say there is something you need to say. Tell them you are still cool and all, but lately there have been some odors coming from them. Here's a script. Elizabeth, you smell really bad. Story 36. Pull them aside. Tell them you care about them and you are wishing them well, so they need to know that they smell foul. Then reiterate that you care and want to help them. Story 37. I don't think the wording is as important as doing it as discreetly as possible, where ideally you and the person in question are the only people aware of the conversation. Story 38. Be private. Never bring up this topic in front of other people. Use I statements. Focus on what you have noticed rather than accusing them. Offer a solution subtly. You could suggest they might want to change their clothes or deodorant without explicitly saying they smell bad. Be respectful and concerned. Convey that you are bringing this up because you care and want to help. Story 39. If I know the person well, like my brother, I just say, hey, kid, you're smelling a bit ripe, or you've got a bit of dragon breath. But I have a medical issue that causes bad body odor, so I'm also constantly asking my friends and family if I smell bad. 2. Laugh out loud. Story 40. Isolate them. I'm not saying this to embarrass you, more as a heads up. You've been smelling bad. Could also be that they don't wash their clothes regularly enough. Story 41. At work once, we had a meeting where we were told there was a backorder complaint for our department. All of us but one person were at a presentation that said, "This next meeting is not about you." Story 42. I had a neighbor who worked at the community college. She said a young man came in to talk about his classes and career plans. She mentioned he smelled very unpleasant. After he went through his questions, the first thing she said was to shower and wash himself and his clothes. She did not hold back. She felt someone had to tell him. Story 43. Out of curiosity, has anyone ever experienced telling someone of Middle Eastern background that they smelled musty as ever? I get that quite a bit of them just smell like that for religious reasons or beliefs, but has anyone ever dealt with having to be around one for more than an hour? And if not, how would you approach that issue? Again, genuinely curious. Story 44. I work with a guy who suddenly started wearing way too much cologne. There are a number of us who would like to approach him about it, but we don't quite know how. Story 45. I wish I knew. We have an autistic man at work, and you can tell when he's working by the funk spread all around the area. It's gotten so bad that if you use the restroom within 20 or 30 minutes of him, all you can smell is dirty odor to a degree you can almost taste it. Story 46. I will smell my own armpits, then say, I think you forgot to put on deodorant today, or something similar. Then I'll tell a ridiculous story about myself forgetting to use deodorant on occasion. I've done this a number of times over the years,